Hello, hi everybody. It's quite thrilling actually, because it's the first time for us to be online in a webinar inside a MOOC, you know? And you already know that MOOC is not that thing, but it's a massive open online course. And it is quite massive, you know, because I mean, we thought that maybe something like 200 people, 250 people could participate in a massive open online course about accessible tourism. Actually, it is the first one in the world, ever. Well, not 250. We are talking about more than 460 people participating in this MOOC. So it's now already a great success. And so that's why we have we have a big responsibility now. And we really need to do our best, okay? So I am Emiliano Deferrari, and I am a project manager of an Italian social cooperative called TANDEM. And here we have
Stella Minuti from INCIPIT Consulting, another partner of Up to You project.
And Maurizio Panzironi from TANDEM.
So we are talking about a big European project. It is an Erasmus project. So you participant, maybe you already know what is Up to You, but let's just share some information about that. It is an Erasmus project. It's a strategic partnership to try to build new instrument to make a training in the field of accessible tourism, especially for the small and medium enterprises. And the partnership is quite big, because we have Italy, because we are the coordinator of the project, but we also express a lot of interesting knowledges coming from Poland, coming from Slovenia, coming from Spain, and especially we have two big European networks working with us. One is the European Network for Accessible Tourism, and the other one is HOTREC, which is the European net of hotelier, of restaurants and catering. And so we are all working together. And what did we do up to now? Well, actually, we have prepared an enormous core, let's say, documentation from which we developed a blended training course, which was made in April 2016 in Italy, inviting 16 people working in the field, in the field of tourism. And these people are now with you, within the participants of the MOOC, and they will act somehow as facilitators for you. They might be part of the forum, answering, trying to give you more answers on your topics and on your doubts. And what also we did was preparing this massive open online course, which is the first one about accessible tourism. And the other thing that we are doing with you is testing a new application, which is also an app and also a web instrument, to teach you to learn by doing what? Audits of facilities, of tourist facilities, but we will talk about that later and in the next weeks. So so that is basically how the MOOC is organized. We started at the end of last year advertising this MOOC. We made different national conferences to promote the MOOC. A lot of people came, and a lot of interest is going on about this MOOC. And in fact, as you, Maurizio, the guy from the world of the MOOC, from the portal, and from the social media, you know what's happening. I mean, we have participations from basically all around the world.
Yes, yes. Now we are in connection with people from Philippines, Berlin, Greece, and Italy too.
Oh yes, I see.
Yes, they are writing on the chat.
Ah, they write on the chat,
Yes.
because you know there is
Now,
on
we can
YouTube there is a chat, and you can all write there. Say hello.
Yes, now
Okay.
I'm writing them.
Okay, so welcome to all people in the chat.
And moreover, we have people writing on the forum of the MOOC, and people writing on the general forum and the specific forum from the first module. That is very interesting, because they are beginning to explore the meaning of tourism for all and the concept of tourism for all.
Which
Yes.
is very interesting. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
And so it's very exciting. And so basically, this is the first webinar we are doing. So we just want to give you a bit more information about how the MOOC is organized and how the webinars are organized. Let's start from how the MOOC is organized. As you have seen, we are going to publish 4 modules with different topics, and every 2 weeks. This is the end. Today is basically the end of the second week of the MOOC, and we are now trying to collect what happened in the last 2 weeks in the MOOC. Because what happens in the MOOC, as you've seen, we are not talking about teachers giving lectures and students learning, but it's all about learning and sharing experience. I don't feel like a teacher. She is a teacher, but she's not like, I mean, it's not your role today and in the course of the MOOC. We are basically more experienced people in the field of accessible tourism, trying to help other people who might have already experiences in the accessible tourism, or might not. The thing is that what we share in common is the interest in accessible tourism. So what happens now? We are collecting. So every 2 weeks, at the end of each module, we collect the experience and events and things that happen in the forum, in the social media. As you know, we have we wanted you to use the hashtag ATYMOOC to be recognized online in the Facebook group that we have, in the Twitter page that we have. And so what we will do today, after a first, let's say, summary of what are the most important topics of the first module, is trying to answer to some of your questions. I invite you to write in live and ask us some questions which might be interesting to share, but also to answer to some of the questions that arose in these 2 weeks, but also to point out some of the experiences you wanted to share with us, because there are already some activities in this.
Yes. We have a big participation in the forum about the definition of the concept of tourism for all. That is very interesting, because people as beginning sharing their opinion, but also their experiences, and they are also anticipating something we are gonna face later in the MOOC, such as the theme of reliable information. That is a very, very important theme for us. And they are starting sharing their experience and good practice. And there are really interacting among them. So I hope they will continue so on.
Well, another thing that is interesting to point out is that some people asked us before the beginning of the MOOC about their competences. First, about their competences in accessibility, and secondly, about their competences, the language competences. About the first thing, no problem. We accept everyone, as you can see. Every one of us can have experience to share and different interests. About languages, as you can see, at least for this webinar, none of us is a mother tongue. We are not English native speakers. We try to do our best to let ourselves understood. So you don't have to be afraid. We will speak a kind of plain English with some mistakes, but I mean, it's broken English is quite common. It's more common than the Queen's English. So I guess you should understand us. In the next webinars, probably we will also invite some native speakers, but we won't do that because they are native speakers, but because they are professionals and they can share their experiences with us. After that, I just think that we can begin talking about the most important topics of this module. And so I just leave the floor to Stella, which is the teacher. Let's not tell anyone.
So thank you, Emiliano. Perhaps before starting with my explanation about which are for us the main topics of this first module, I have to remember you that within each module, in the MOOC, you will find some training material that you have prepared for you. Mainly, this is constituted by videos. One introduction video, which has been developed for the MOOC, especially for this MOOC, and other material, videos and documents that we collect from other European experiences on tourism for all. So this is a material that we give you, we propose to you as a starting point to learn about accessible tourism. As I said, the starting point, because you are free, of course, to suggest other materials to your colleagues who are in the MOOC with you. And so it's really a starting point that you can implement in the future.
Yeah, maybe you're not aware of that, but you are part of a real connectivist MOOC. You know, because yes, the experts make differences between the real MOOCs like ours and some others that are called MOOCs, but are basically big training courses given by universities. In this case, we really want to share things. So our outcomes, the actual outcomes of our course are not set completely from the beginning, because we might discover interesting things. Actually, already from the forum, we had some people who talked about their experience and their interesting things that could be, shared by everybody. We'll talk about that before. So you are in a connectivist MOOC.
So coming back to the main topics of this first module that is going to finish today. Finished. Of course, this is the MOOC. One of the characteristics of the MOOC is to be really free. So this means that today this module finished, because from next week we are going to introduce more material, more videos for the second module. But you can still read materials, see videos regarding the first module. So you are free to.
Yeah. We will not close the forum.
We will not close. Okay. So the first, coming back to the main topic of this module. The first one regards the concept and meaning of tourism for all. And Yes, and I like
I could also play a little song, you know, like a
okay.
jingle, but you know,
Yes.
it's better not to.
And I like very much what a person interviewed in one of the video we put within the MOOC, who said that accessible tourism is tourism. It's made up of people who travel already, and much more. It's about people who would like to travel, but find it difficult because they find some difficulties and barriers in doing this. So accessible tourism aims at guaranteeing these people, mainly people with access requirements such as mobility, vision, hearing, the possibility to enjoy their holidays and their leisure time like all the others, without obstacles and difficulties, and possibly with a high degree of autonomy. So this is, and so it's about enhancing tourism products, services, and environments in such a way that they can be equally used by everybody. And with regard to the definition of accessible tourism for all, I liked very much the definition that one of the participants in the MOOC wrote, and she is Isabel Godoy Urrizia. I hope I pronounced her name rightly. And she said that tourism for all is the tourism that take care of holidays as an unforgettable experience for everybody, regardless their health conditions, age, providing quality services, offering comprehensive information about places to enjoy the stay, such as restaurants, activities, leisure, and accommodation. As we will see, she touched many important points that we are going to discuss with you regarding information, for example, which is a really very important topic, as Maurizio said before, regarding the tourism service chain and so on. So the first point is...
and we will also mention other people contribution.
Yes.
So wait, we are also talking about you.
The second main point, the second main concept, in our opinion, in my opinion, regards the big economic potential related with tourism for all. And tourism with specific requirements represent very big, it's very big and it's fast growing, because if we consider that they include people with disability, but also old people, and you know that old people is fast growing, at least in the Western countries. So they represent really a potential big market. It's actually is a very big market, but it will be much more in the future. And but also people with access requirements, specific access requirements are families with baby and small children, people who are temporary impairments. For example, when you have an accident and you broke your leg, for a little period of your life, you need accessibility for enjoy your traveling and your holidays. So we, in the video, as perhaps you have seen if you have looked at it, we gave a lot of evidences, a lot of figures regarding how big is this market and how big it will become in the future if some accessibility conditions were improved around the world. We gave figures coming from European studies conducted all around the world, especially in Europe, and many other figures were given by Professor Simon Darcy in one of the video, in the second one, I think, included in the material we provided to you. So this is really a very important point for the tourism sector and for enterprises that operates in the tourism sector, big potential related to the growth of accessible tourism for all.
Mm-hmm. So the point that the information are basically that we are getting old as a global population. Maybe it's not the case of some emerging countries, but surely the Western world.
Western countries are affected.
Yes, yes.
We in Italy
we are the oldest. We are the oldest one, you know.
Yes.
And this is one thing. The second thing is that thanks to healthcare and things like this,
yes, old people is still people who
active,
like to travel, active
people.
And of course they like traveling. They have more time and perhaps sometimes more money to spend.
In this case, for example, in Western world, it's like that. I was talking 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago with a Chinese lady in Brussels, and we were talking about the differences between economies. And while, for example, in our case, in the case of the Western economy, basically older people are paying for their travels, but also for their sons and for their children's travels. On the way around, for example, in China, the opposite is happening, but it's still interesting because she was telling me, actually she is one of the people participating in the MOOC, so it would be interesting if she's online, maybe, if she's in China, it might be a problem, but if she's still in Europe, maybe. And she was saying that it's a tradition of China, for example, for younger generation to give a present to their parents, to recognize all the cares the parents give to the children. And what they often do is they buy a family travel to Europe generally, or to wherever they can go. And actually she was telling me that most of the times, at least percentually, even if they love Europe because of history and stuff, they often prefer destinations like, for example, Canada, which are the oldest possible in the most accessible Western world, let's say. Okay, it was quite curious. But this is to say that remember that older people or people with disabilities, generally, they don't travel alone. So when they travel,
this is another point really important
about the economic potential, because when they travel, they generally bring other people with them. So one people with disability or with some special need, and 2 people with them. So we are talking about 3 people. If you lose that person, you lose 3 people. So that is quite important as talking about the economic potential.
Yes. Then the third point, in our opinion, concern the fact that attention to accessibility issues should cover the whole tourism service chain, starting from the beginning when you are planning your trip, your holiday, to when you are traveling towards your final destination, when you move within the destination of your holiday, when you stay in a hotel, when you go to a restaurant, and when you visit a museum or a monument. So this attention to accessibility should cover all these elements of the tourism chain. Otherwise, if one of these elements is weak, perhaps this means that you compromise your holiday. You can't enjoy your holidays as a whole, because of course you don't go on holiday just to stay inside the hotel, but you want to enjoy the environment, to enjoy to visit museum, to visit local attraction. And so this is really very, very important to have a tourism system, a tourism chain that possibly is accessible in all its elements. This is really, really very important. Of course, this concerns mostly local authorities who cater for marketing destination. But it's also important that that enterprises in tourism do their part in improving the accessibility in order to create a local environment which is more usable and more friendly for people with specific assessment requirements. So
yeah,
this is very important.
Because actually,
think about the whole system. Excuse me.
No. The point is that, okay, you participants are I've seen that there are a lot of SMEs.
Yes.
There are some experts in the accessible.
Yes, students.
Students.
And also common people involved in some way with disability or accessibility issues. For example, there's a lady from Egypt that has a son with disability, and so he shared her experience with us on the forum. There's a lot of interest in the topic. Okay.
The point is, and I've also seen that there are some tourism destinations too, participating, which is very
Romania,
interesting.
For example.
Yes, right. I remember that. You can actually present
your important for this point, because it's
and NTOs or destinations. Yes, you can actually present yourself in the forums if you want. If you want to tell us what you do for accessible tourism. The point is that whoever you are, tourism destination expert, part of the chain as an SME, well, you have to be aware. She said that you have to do your part, which is trying to do your best to be hospitable to people with different needs. But also you have to be aware that there are other actors that you have to relate to. Because if you want to give your service, you cannot give your service without the help of other people that are in the chain. And this implies a lot of things. So you have to know that there are other people that, like you, cater for all, let's say. And because sometimes you might need to give information to people.
Yeah.
For example, if you are an hotelier, and you are at the reception, and you ask, and people ask you, oh, how can I go from place A to B? I want to go to the central station. How can I go there? Well, if you understand that their needs is having let's say an accessible taxi, you have to know how to reach an accessible taxi. So you have to be aware, and you have to prevent the possible needs of people. And naturally, if you see that there are parts of the chain that are uncovered, let's say, you can do your part, like fighting for that, doing lobby, and that you can do that for for the institutions. But you really need to be aware of that. Okay.
And the last main points, of course, there are others. Obviously interesting topics, but last main points in our opinion is the awareness to be acquired that people, customers with specific access needs do not represent a marketing segment in a classical sense. The tourists with specific access are not special tourists. They are like the others.
In fact, there is a question mark here.
Yes.
Okay. It's not a statement, it's a question. Is accessible tourism a separate segment?
No, it isn't, because they share with all the other tourists the same different expectations. There are people with specific access needs that like to go on holidays because they like to go to do sport. Other customers with specific access requirements that go on holidays because they want to make a cultural visit to a main historic destination around the world. There are people who are interested in having only fun during their holidays, others that prefer to have quiet, relaxing holidays. So they belong to different marketing segments, no? If you use the marketing definition of the segments. So they have different expectations like all the other groups. The only things that they share is that they need particular attention to their specific access needs, requirements. So
if you are a tourist,
the only thing that they share.
So if you are a tourist operator, for example, you make your leaflet about hiking, you make your leaflet about cultural tourism, then you tend to make your leaflet about accessible tourism, but it's not the wish of people. I'm not going to vacation because I want to see with my family this fantastic accessible toilet. It's not the objective of my. It's very important. It's not the objective of my vacation. The objective of my vacation might be hiking, might be skiing, might be going to museums and stuff. Accessibility is a requirement. So it is okay for some tour operators to try to cater more, to focus on people with specific needs, especially because the market doesn't cover those needs. But the real objective for you, tourist operator, is make 3 different fantastic leaflets with information about accessibility of those destinations in hiking, in skiing, and in museums and stuff. That is the meaning of what we were saying. Okay, so these were the four
main topics.
Okay. There are other stuff that we can talk about. But before that, because I know that we have many ideas that came out also from the other documents that we are showing. As you have seen, we prepare ourselves with the help of our facilitators a video, and we prepared an handout with all the basic topics. But we also proposed many external documentation. So this course is a kind of repository and a directory of important documents. But before talking about that, I would really love to have some information from Maurizio about what's happening and what happened in the forums.
Yes,
and in the chat now.
Yes, I was reading the chat because discussion is starting, and they are talking about the importance of information for people with disability when they are going to travel, and there's a lot of interaction now. They are really anticipating a lot of things of our MOOC, but this is very good because they are sharing their personal or company experience, and so giving us also good practices. And now I'm gonna answer them.
Yes,
it's very nice because people is going to interact by their own without any simulation.
Yeah, that's one of the nice thing of the MOOC. I mean, let's say in a MOOC you are too many. We cannot answer personally, each of you. But the good point is that you are interacting between each other, and that's the best thing. So let's say if we cannot answer now live to all of you, no problem. Some people will interact with you, but we will do our best to say some words to maybe each of you, or anyway to groups of you, because there are more people saying basically the same concept, so we trying to collect the different concepts. I must admit that I'm so happy about this live activity. I was hoping for it, but not expecting it. I must be
Yes,
sincere. So we love that. But Maurizio, okay, that's very good that you are answering to them. But I would like to ask you about what happened in the forum in this in the last 2 weeks. If there are some interesting things or things that came out more than others.
Yes, even if in a very free way, participants have developed a scientific approach because they are discussing about the concept of tourists for all. That is very important because we have to decide a definition, a common definition, a shared definition of the issue, and then try to share our experience and so on. It is important because being a worldwide event, the chat can, and the forum too, can link people from every nation of the world and make other people know about very different and far situation. For example, I was quite surprised from the participant from Middle East, or moreover also from South America, because we are acquainted to work in a European context. Okay,
yeah, right.
So it's very interesting also for us as experts to have news from these countries. And I hope this is interesting also for the other participants too. And now, as I said, there's a discussion about the importance of information. That is a fundamental topic also for us, because you cannot think that everything is going to be accessible.
Yeah.
But you can give proper and reliable information on the accessibility condition.
And in fact, this will be basically the topic of one of the modules, in which we will ask you to collect information about your facilities, because you have to know what are the important information that you have to give to people. Doesn't matter if your hotel or restaurant has been designed to be accessible. It's not always the case, and we know the figures. At least in Europe, we know that 9 to 10% of facilities are accessible. Let's say, if we can give a definition of accessible, we know you cannot, but at least. So what we really need to, and what people with disabilities expect, is to have information, a reliable information, to decide whether a place is suitable for them or not.
And that was the main idea of the project Up to You when we thought about this. This project and the MOOC is really centered and focused on this topic of giving information. So collecting data in order to give information in a correct way to people who's going to ask, who's going to come to your facility and want to know exactly how it is, in order to decide if your facility is up to her, to him. It's if they can use it without problem. So this topic of information is really the key, and the main reason of this project and of this MOOC, as we will see. Besides this first module, the second one, the third and the fourth will be really focused on this topic of collecting data in order to give reliable and useful information for tourists.
Look, most of you are small and medium enterprises. You bought, rented an hotel, an apartment, flat, whatever. and you didn't have the money to make it perfect. You kind of inherited what you bought. Probably it's mostly the case. But don't think that your hotel or that your restaurant or that your bed and breakfast is not accessible. You just think about what are the features of your hotel. Tell what are the information, the main important information about your facility. The people will decide. Okay, that's the key message. Okay, and Maurizio, I know that you are chatting a lot in the YouTube chat. Don't forget that we also have a chat in the MOOC portal. So let's give a look also there. But do you want to say something more about what's happening in the chat and what happened in the forums?
They are quite on the same line of our discussion, because they are now a participant from Jordan. One stress that is a factor of the attitude. So I think that also our work is about changing and enhancing attitude toward accessibility needs. And anyway, there's the information issue that is still very active on the chat. On the forum, there's less people talking, because probably it's
they are all
on the
converged in the YouTube page. Another thing, we were talking about the definitions, and I would like to actually promote another question on another forum page, I would say, because you probably have listened to tourism for all, to accessible tourism, to quality tourism. We have been talking about that also in the forum. We could also say hospitality. We have listened to all these words, and my question to you is, do you find a difference between this way of talking about tourism and to catering for people with the specific needs? There are differences. They're all the same thing, different ways of saying the same thing. There is a better way to talk about that. For example, personally, I love the concept of hospitality, because it is above the concept of accessibility, because it's not always about people with disability, with wheelchair and stuff. It's a broader concept, but it takes into account what has to be done for people to being hospital. But anyway, it's just my point of view.
This is the point of view also of some of the participants, because they are talking about the training of the staff.
Yes,
it's very important to get in contact with the clients.
So that's very, very good. They're very reacting.
Yes.
Thank you very much. But let's come back to some of the most important considerations that can be done about the other documents that we proposed, especially the videos, which I think that they were quite interesting and quite to the point, let's say.
Yes. I went through the videos that you found in the MOOC, in the first module, and there are very interesting things that came out from this video. For example, we already spoke before regards the topic of the potential, big economic potentials related to the development of tourism for all. And in our introduction video, the one we produced for this MOOC, we put a lot of figures, as I told before, regarding the future development of the number of people disabilities or older people. And we gave a lot of information regarding macroeconomic trends of these aspects. But perhaps when you give and you present macroeconomic trends, perhaps sometimes, of course, they're very important, but they can appear, how can I say, distant from the everyday life of people, small businesses who have to work within the tourism sector. So I found really very interesting in the video, in some of the interviews in the video, interviews made during the conference Mind Accessibility Gap in Brussels. There were some people 2 years ago interviewed to some people who reported the same, some direct experiences of businesses related to the accessible tourism for all. For example, we have got another.
That's the point. Do you prefer macroeconomic trends or real examples?
For example, I remember, perhaps you have seen it, that there was an interview to the, I think he is the accessibility manager of Scandic Hotels.
Yes.
Yes, and he spoke about the training they had during 2005 in 50 Scandic hotels throughout Europe. And they realized that after only 1 year, this investment in training, so we connect with what Maurizio told before and with the thing you are writing on the chat. The training is really important because they realized that in 1 year, the investment they made on training the staff on accessibility issues were paid back. Another example, if I remember well, was given regarding the experience of Viaggi del Ventaglio in Italy, who decided some years ago to invest money to train again their staff, but also to improve the accessibility features of their premises, of their villages around the world. And they found out that in just in a few years, I don't remember, 2 or 3, they passed from 700,000 euros of revenues to 4.2 million euros of revenue. So they have a big explosion of customers and therefore of revenues.
So the question is, you prefer macro trends or you want the examples from which
real
you can...
examples?
Yes,
yes. Examples.
They prefer real examples.
Yes.
It's also a way to find new. I mean, you can copy them or maybe put that experience into your situation and find another way of being inspired. Okay.
Yes.
Inspiration.
Yes, and the documents produced after this conference I was mentioned before, the Mind Accessibility Gap. There are other examples of
best practices,
best practices or success that came after having thought about the problem of accessibility. I remember, I think it was Aragal who spoke about the fact that if you invest on accessibility and on design for all, your investment is paid back in between 1 year and a half and 3 years. So this is another example, and you can find in the documents we put in the module, in the written documents in this case, not in the videos, other examples of these experiences, good experiences in terms of revenues gained after having thought about accessibility.
Yeah, I remember that there was another interesting thing that might also be controversial that came out from the video. I remember the video of the lady. Her name is Elise Roy.
Yes,
right?
She's a social designer.
Social designer, right?
Yes. Yes, you're true. And I found the video really interesting because it is connected somehow on what we always say, is that if we improve accessibilities of our tourism premises, we improve the quality of the service, not only for people with disability or with specific access requirements, like, as I said before, older people and so on, but we improve the quality for everybody, for all the customers, all the tourists. If you think about using a ramp, this, of course, is useful for people with a wheelchair, but it's also very useful for people who travel with big luggages, with big trolleys, you know, that you prefer, surely you prefer to go through a ramp, to reach the door of a hotel or the airport instead of doing the steps. Mm-hmm. This is one example of something that is, it is for people with disability, and then for the other. Another example, sorry, I can give it you, is, for example, the use. I realized it when I was looking at this video. That all this video we put in the, all the videos we put in the MOOC are with the subtitles, because they are meant to be followed also by people with hearing impairments. But subtitles are really useful also for people who are not English mother tongue, for example. And having written down what the people in the video are saying helps a lot to better understand. So this is an example of this fact that sometimes, almost always, intervention to make things more accessible are useful for everybody. And this is the point that it was indicated in this video Emiliano mentioned before. This is a TED conference made by this social designer, and she said that sometimes object designed for people with disability, then it came out that they are very useful for other people. She made the example of a potato peeler. Potato peeler that was created and designed for people with arthritis. I don't know if the name, if I pronounce it correctly, but then it was really so useful for all the other people that all the other people loved it, and now it became a mainstream object.
That might be a bit controversial, I would say, because some other people say that if you look at one need, and if you cater for one need, it might be the case that you are not catering for other possible needs. So something which is useful for someone might be not useful for other people. So, and there are some examples. For example, we were mentioning the ramp, which is very loved by people using with luggages or mother with children with a stroll. But it might be not very loved by people with walking with a stick, because a ramp can mean walking for 20 meters instead of 2 steps, and some people prefer one instead of the other. So my suggestion is, let's take inspiration from this video, but let's always think about the 2 poles. So think general, but also think about the needs all together. Let's kind of make a balance. It's like think global and act local. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, other things? Yes, we are running out of time, but we have so much. There is something interesting to say about the chat. What's going on?
Oh yes, they are going on their own.
On their own. Yeah, they don't need us. They just
we can go home. Really,
it's just like a concert. You go to a concert and then you chat with your friend.
Yes,
instead of
yes.
looking at the concert.
No, they are talking about relevant questions such as information, and they are explaining their preference for real examples.
Okay.
Okay.
But another
That's
thing, yeah, that
sorry.
you could mention, that we were thinking about. Actually, I would like to let's say promote another question. Let's say so. Maurizio, write it down the forum. We might write it down the forum. You don't have to answer now, but let's think about that in the next week or so. Do you think that accessibility means expensive? Making your hotel more accessible means spending a lot of money? You could say something about that,
yes,
maybe.
Perhaps again, taking something that it was said in the video, so we put in the module, and there are examples that and people saying that accessible is not necessarily expensive. You can start also being a small and medium enterprise. We can start with small things, with small interventions that doesn't cost too much, that don't cost too much, but they are in any case useful for people with disability, or for people with special assessment requirements. For example, again, the accessibility manager of Scandic make the example, very simple example regarding the hook that where you can put your jacket
in the hanger,
in the hanger, yes. And moving from up to down to a height which
from
is
2 meters, to 120,
yes, can help people who are on the wheelchair. Other
provided you don't have a very long coat, but
yes. Yes. But also because always we when we think about people with disability, we always think about people on wheelchair. More or less, we think the first image that came to your mind is the people on wheelchair. But there are many other people with other specific requirements. For example, people with hearing impairments or with visual impairments, and sometimes to modify, to intervene in the future, features to make them accessible for people with hearing impairing or visual impairing is much easier and less expensive, and you can, in any case, respond to the needs of a lot of many people. People will be with visual impairments, for example, are many are a lot in the world, and so just thinking about them and improving some things can help them a lot without spending too much.
Yeah, you have read that in many documents that we provided. We always, there is a tendency of looking at accessibility as wheelchairs, let's say.
Yeah.
But if we study the segment of people with specific needs, we can see that the part of people with different needs being people using wheelchairs, it's only 9% of the segment. So, you can do a lot for
this
everybody.
Of course, doesn't mean that you don't have to cater
this doesn't mean
for them, but that you can start with small things, as I said before, and and then going on step by step, and without being afraid to spend a lot.
Yeah, we only have 1 minute before finishing our fantastic first webinar with a lot of activity in the chat. Yes. Please go ahead with that, and when the chat will be finished, go and run to the forum and continue talking and making connections between
Share your
each other, because yes,
you are going to be trainers to your
oh
peers.
yes,
It's
yes,
very important that you.
and you might make interesting connections for your work. You never know. There are lots of people coming from the same areas, or there are people coming from different areas who would like to make exchanges of information and of tourists. You never know. So something more to say from the chat before saying goodbye?
No. Okay, we can say goodbye and then talk on the chat.
We go ahead on the chat.
The
So the webinar is finishing. I thank you all very much for your presence.
Send your feedback to us regarding this webinar, because this is really important for us to plan for the future one.
If you want other things to be done, we will make all things possible to make you satisfied. The next webinar will be on Friday, the 10th of February at 3 p.m. At the time of Rome, of Brussels, and of Paris. And see you then. We will talk about the needs of people with different disabilities,
customer care, how to relate
with them. That will be very, very important. We are going to the core of our course. So,
thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Thank you.
See you.